How could you vanish, leaving my heart a deserted house haunted by your silence? Your absence screams in the quiet spaces where your voice used to live. You scare me because the love I held turned into a ghost I can't forget. I'm terrified that you never truly existed beyond my desperate hope. How could you leave and make my soul ache in every empty moment? Your silence is a dark wound that bleeds even when I close my eyes. You scare me because your leaving erased the colors I painted my world with. I'm haunted by your shadow, stretching longer than the distance you left behind. How could you disappear and turn my dreams into forgotten whispers? Your absence is a cold void that devours the warmth I clung to. You scare me because I still listen for a heartbeat that no longer beats. I'm terrified you were just a story my heart told itself to survive. How could you leave and leave my heart a maze without an exit? Your silence is a blade cutting deeper than any scream ever could. You scare me because your absence is a riddle with no answer, only pain. I'm haunted by the echo of your footsteps fading into nothingness. How could you vanish, leaving me lost in a sea of unspoken goodbyes? Your leaving felt like the earth cracking beneath everything I believed in. You scare me because the space you left is endless and full of shadows. I'm terrified by the weight of your silence crushing the hope inside me. How could you go and leave me chasing ghosts of what we never were? Your absence is a storm that rages in the quiet corners of my soul. You scare me because I'm still holding on to a version of you that's gone. I'm haunted by the cold truth that you were never really mine to keep. How could you vanish like smoke, leaving me choking on the air you left? Your silence is a wound that refuses to close, no matter how I try. You scare me because your leaving turned my heart into a battlefield of memories. I'm terrified. You walked away and took all the light with you. How could you disappear without a word, leaving me to drown in questions? Your absence is a dark echo that haunts every silent moment I live. You scare me because your silence is a secret I can't unravel or forget. I'm haunted by the emptiness you left, vaster than any ocean I've known. How could you go and leave me holding pieces of a shattered trust? Your leaving felt like a shadow swallowing the sun of my days. You scare me because your absence feels like a punishment I never deserved. I'm terrified by the thought that you never really wanted to stay at all. How could you vanish and leave me in the ruins of our silent war? Your silence is a cold breath on my neck that never fades away. You scare me because your leaving broke the mirror I saw myself in. I'm haunted by the way you slipped away before I could say goodbye. How could you disappear without a trace, leaving me to unravel alone? Cold ocean I'm drowning in without a lifeline. You scare me because your silence screams louder than any farewell ever could. I'm terrified that the love I gave was just a secret you never shared. How could you vanish and make me feel like I never truly existed? Your leaving is a shadow that follows me in every quiet moment. You scare me because your silence carved a void I'm too broken to fill. I'm haunted by the thought that you were never really mine to begin with. How could you disappear without a goodbye, leaving only the weight of loss? Your absence is a haunting melody I replay when the world is still. You scare me because the you I loved turned into a stranger overnight. I'm terrified by the void you left, vast, cold, and impossible to escape. How could you go and leave me clutching at memories that dissolve like smoke? Your silence is a wound that bleeds quietly beneath my skin every day. You scare me because your absence feels like a punishment. With no mercy, I'm haunted by the way you left, without a word, without a trace. How could you vanish and make me question every truth I once held? Your leaving was a storm that shattered the calm I thought we had. You scare me because your silence is louder than any broken promise. I'm terrified that the you I loved was just a dream I'll never touch. How could you disappear and leave my heart a hollow echo of pain? Your absence feels like a frozen winter that never melts inside me. You scare me because your silence screams the lies we never dared speak. I'm haunted by the coldness your leaving wrapped around my broken soul. How could you vanish and leave me stranded in the ruins of us? Your leaving is a shadow that swallows the light I thought we shared. You scare me because your absence is a darkness I can't fight or flee. I'm terrified that the love I held was just an illusion, fading fast. How could you disappear and leave my soul to bleed in silence? Your silence is a haunting song I hear in every breath I take. Your absence is a cold ocean I'm drowning in without a lifeline. I'm terrified that the love we had was just a story I dreamed. You scare me because your leaving turned my world into a silent war. How could you vanish and leave me with nothing but unanswered prayers? Your ghost whispers lies I'm too afraid to deny or believe. I'm haunted by the space you left, too vast, too silent, too cruel. You scare me because your absence screams louder than any farewell ever could. If this touched your soul, don't scroll, like, comment your favorite quote, and subscribe for more. How could you go like this, erasing us with a breath, leaving fear in your wake? Your leaving feels like a thunderclap in the quietest part of my soul. I'm terrified by the coldness that replaced the warmth I once knew. You scare me because the you I loved dissolved into a stranger's silence. How could you vanish and leave my heart holding only shattered promises? Your absence is one bleeding truths I'm not ready to face. I am haunted by the way you left like a secret never meant to be told. You scare me because your silence screams a story I can't rewrite. How could you disappear and turn love into a ghost I chase endlessly? Your leaving was the cruelest poem, written in silence and fear. You scare me because your leaving felt like the end of every beautiful sentence we never finished. How could you keep going and leave my soul tangled in shadows you cast behind? Your silence is a cruel lullaby that keeps my heart awake at night. I'm terrified that the you I loved was just a whisper in the wind. You disappeared and left me holding a hollow where your warmth used to live. How could you vanish like a dream before the dawn could catch you? Your absence is a cold echo in the hallways of my restless mind. You scare me because your leaving erased every promise you once carved in me. I am haunted by the way you slipped through my fingers without a fight. How could you go without leaving even a shadow of goodbye? Your leaving was a silent storm that shattered the calm I clung to. You scare me because your absence feels like a question with no answer. I'm terrified by the ghost of you that lingers in my quiet moments. How could you disappear and make me doubt the truth I held sacred? Your silence burns hotter than any words you never dared to say. You scare me because the space you left is filled with all my fears. I'm haunted by the absence of you, louder than any presence ever was. How could you leave and turn love into a locked room with no key? Your goodbye was a shadow that swallowed my hope whole, without warning. You scare me because I still reach for a you that no longer exists. I'm terrified that your leaving was a lie I convinced myself to believe. How could you vanish and leave me wandering in a maze of silence? Your absence is a cold wound that pulses in the dark of my soul. You scare me. Because your silence screams louder than any farewell ever could, I'm haunted by the weight of your leaving, the heaviness no one sees. How could you go and leave me with all these questions bleeding inside? Your leaving feels like a knife twisting slowly inside the quiet of my heart. You scare me because your absence is the loudest echo in my broken world. I'm terrified by the thought that you never truly cared at all. How could you vanish like smoke, leaving nothing but cold ash behind? Your silence is a cruel thief, stealing the light from my darkest nights. You scare me because your leaving turned love into a ghost story I live. I'm haunted by the way you disappeared, taking my peace without a word. How could you leave so easily when I was holding on with trembling hands? Your absence is a wound that refuses to heal, pulsing with every heartbeat. You scare me because your silence feels like a betrayal wrapped in quiet. I'm terrified that I was just a chapter you meant to burn and forget. How could you vanish without a trace, leaving only shadows and regrets? Your leaving was a cold breeze that froze the warmth inside my soul. You scare me because your absence haunts every corner of my lonely nights. I'm haunted by the silence you left, a silence louder than any scream. How could you go and leave me drowning in questions I can't answer? Your absence is a deep wound no time or prayer can ever close. You scare me because your silence is a riddle I'll never solve or forget. I'm terrified that the love I gave was just an echo lost in the dark. How could you vanish and make me feel like I never truly existed? Your leaving is a shadow that follows me in every quiet moment. You scare me because your silence carved a void I'm too broken to fill. I'm haunted by the thought that you were never really mine to begin with. How could you disappear without a goodbye, leaving only the weight of loss? Your absence is a haunting melody I replay when the world is still. My dear, how could you vanish like smoke, leaving only cold silence where my heart used to burn? You disappeared and took my breath, leaving a shadow where your light used to live. How could you walk away with all the thunder still rolling inside my chest? Your absence screams louder than any words you left unsaid. You left like a ghost, but the fear you planted in me stays alive. How could you break my trust so quietly? I didn't even hear it shatter. You scare me more than storms because your silence is endless and ruthless. I fear the you I knew was just a mirage fading before my eyes. Your goodbye feels like a trapdoor beneath my feet. No warning, no landing. How do you vanish and still haunt every corner of my restless mind? You left without a backward glance, like you were never truly here at all. Your shadow lingers even though you slipped away into a darker night. I'm terrified by the way you erased yourself from my story so fast. You walked away and took the map to my soul with you. How could you disappear and make me question the very air I breathe? You scare me because your leaving felt like a betrayal with no trace. I see you in every silence, every moment I'm too afraid to speak. Your absence is a wound that bleeds quietly under my skin. How could you go without a fight when I was ready to hold on? You scared me into believing love could disappear without a trace. Your leaving is the dark I didn't see coming, blinding and cold. I'm haunted by the thought that you never wanted to stay at all. You slipped through my fingers like smoke. Untouchable and terrifying. How could you leave a space so vast it swallowed every whispered hope? Your escape left me gasping, as if the ground beneath me cracked open. You scare me because I still hope you'll return, but I know you won't. I'm terrified you were never mine, that I was just a passing storm. You left me stranded in a silence that screams your name. How could you vanish without a trace, leaving only questions behind? You're a ghost story I'm forced to live, repeating every night in my head. Your departure is a wound that pulses, refusing to heal or fade. I fear the person I loved was just a mask you wore for me. How could you walk away so casually, leaving my heart shattered and raw? You scare me because your goodbye never landed. It just drifted away like ash. I'm haunted by the shadow of you that won't stop creeping closer. Your leaving feels like the earth swallowed you whole, and I was left behind. How could you disappear when all I ever wanted was to hold on tighter? You scare me because I still see you in dreams I don't want to wake from. Your silence is the loudest noise I've ever heard in my soul. I'm terrified you'll stay a mystery I can never solve or understand. How could you leave and make me feel like I was never enough? You scare me because your absence speaks louder than any apology. Ever could, you vanished like smoke, but the fire you started still burns inside me. How could you go without looking back at the chaos you left behind? I'm terrified that the love I felt was only ever an illusion. Your leaving is a scar I wear, invisible but aching beneath my skin. You scare me because I'm still chasing shadows of what we lost. How could you disappear and make the world feel so empty and cold? Your silence echoes in the hollow where my heart used to live. I'm terrified the you I loved is just a story I'm telling myself. You scare me because your leaving feels like a betrayal too deep to name. How could you slip away without a word, leaving everything undone? Your absence is a storm that never passes. It just rages quietly inside me. I'm haunted by the fear that you never really loved me at all. You scare me because the space you left is a void I can't fill. How could you leave like a thief in the night, stealing my peace? Your ghost is the cold breath I feel when the world goes quiet. I'm terrified you never wanted to stay, and I was just a pause. You scare me because your leaving was a lie wrapped in silence. How could you go and leave me drowning in questions with no answers? Your absence is a shadow that follows me into every bright moment. I'm haunted by the way you slipped away before I could say goodbye. You scare me because your silence feels like a wound that wouldn't close. How could you vanish and leave me grasping for fragments of us? Your leaving is a cold breath on my neck that never fades. I'm terrified that the love I gave was a secret you never shared. You scare me because I'm still waiting for a version of you that's gone. How could you walk away and leave my heart bleeding in the dark? Your silence is a sharp knife that cuts deeper every time I think. I'm haunted by the thought that you never meant to stay at all. You scare me because your leaving shattered the mirror I saw myself in. How could you disappear without a trace, leaving me to unravel alone?